Hello everyone, this is Jared from the Game Room, bringing you guys my 4.3 Resto Druid guide. It's Resto for Restoration, for those of you who don't know. Um, anyways, this is my Druid. He's sporting some T4 with a pretty sweet looking staff I picked up yesterday while questing in Netherstorm, or no, not Netherstorm, Shadowmoon Valley. I'm retarded because that's where I'm at right now. I don't even know where I'm at. Anyway, I just want to start out this little guide here. Basically, Restoration Druid's stat priority, intellect, obviously. Pretty much you can't heal if you don't have intellect. I mean, come on, guys, get with the program. Uh, Next under that, spirit. You have to have spirit on all your gear, no exceptions. Under spirit is mastery. Between mastery, crit, and haste, that's going to be the one that you really need more than anything else is mastery. Just because you get so much out of mastery. Which I'll explain a little bit more about that later. Next under mastery is crit. Which I'll explain that as well later. And then last, haste is never a bad thing, but you don't really want to focus too much on it. It's kind of one of those things where you can try to find a little sweet spot for it, but you don't really want to overdo it, especially if you're raid healing. It's not that important, really. And then, of course, spell power. That goes without saying. You can only get that on one item now, and that's going to be your weapon slot. And you can't really do anything with it, and you can't really... And it just comes with your weapons. So, again, that's intellect, spirit, mastery, crit, then haste. Very, very different from most conventional healings. To kind of expound on the mastery, crit, and haste thing, your mastery is most important because Harmony, the Resto Druid mastery, it increases your direct heals by 23%, and when you use a direct heal, that increases your heal over time spells by 23% for 10 seconds. And any point above base mastery of that 23% increases both of those effects by 1.25% per point. So naturally, mastery is you just need mastery. Like, every piece of gear should have spirit, and if at all possible, mastery. That's it. Crit underneath that, you're especially if you're raid healing, you're rolling a lot of hots. Thus, if you have more crit, you have more of a chance to crit by rolling more hots. So, I mean, that's my view on it, is, you have more than efficient stuff out there at any given time to utilize crit effectively. So stacking that after mastery over haste is really, really effective. And then haste, it can boost ticks if you stack the crap out of it, but if you do that, you're really losing a lot of heals affected by your mastery, and you have a lot less crit chance. So having a lot of things out at one time really doesn't make for much of an improvement over anything. Not to mention Nature's Grace. The spec, it's pretty much mandatory for any druid, any caster druid, I should say, because it does increase your haste by pretty much over half. It pretty much doubles your haste is what I'm trying to say there. That's pretty much it. Mastery, crit, haste. Like I said earlier, you can't go wrong doing that. As far as talents and glyphs go, I'm not really going to get too much in depth with it. I will go over a few things. I did take improved rejuvenation, all 3 points, just because you're using rejuvenation a lot, especially as a raid healer. I took 2 points in living seed. Most people take 1, if any at all, in living seed. Most people think it's a pretty useless spell, but then again, the way that I heal, which I'll tell you guys a little bit more in depth later, is you're rolling Life Bloom on the tank pretty much all the time, and you're using Swift Mend on that target that's getting your Life Bloom, mainly because they're taking a lot of damage, and your Swift Mend, and it's very situational too. However, it does come in a lot of handy. I did take Nature Swiftness for the increased healing amount, which most people already do that. I do have 2 points in Malfurion's Gift for the Omen of Clarity, just for mana purposes. 2 points in Nature's Bounty, because I use a lot of rejuvenation, and having that for the Nourish is really good. It also plays off of stacking the crit, like I mentioned earlier, with your stats, especially on regrowth, because this increases the critical chance of regrowth by 40% with 2 points. No Nature's Ward, you don't need that. Did take Swift Rejuve. Definitely having that global cooldown is, man, there's nothing I can really say about that. It's just something that I have for me. It's come in handy a lot for me. That's pretty much all I'll say about that. I do not have any points in Fear. I do have enough mana with my gear, which I am sitting at 385 eye level equipped right now for my Resto gear. So I don't really have any problems as far as mana goes. I am sitting unbuffed with 124k. I do have 2 points in Moonglow, but that's, most people already do that. And I do have 2 points in Genesis, mainly because it increases your Swift Mend by 6%. And I use Swift Mend pretty much on cooldown. And as far as glyphs go, Swift Mend doesn't consume rejuvenation or regrowth effects. That is pertinent. You have to have that, no doubt about it. Rejuve increases the healing done by Rejuve by 10%. Again, definitely needed. And Life Bloom increases crit effect chance by 10%. Definitely need it, because you will be rolling Life Bloom on someone at all times. As far as major glyphs go, I have Innervate, Rebirth, and Wild Growth, but that's just personal preference. You can really use whatever you want, and I would say that the only mandatory thing is Rebirth, because, I mean, who wants to be reincarnated? Who wants to be battle rezzed with 30% health? I mean, really? You need it, especially if you're a healer. And minor glyphs, get whatever you want. I have Glyph of the Treant, because personally, I hate what they did with tree form. But, you can do whatever you want. Finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about my spell priority, and give y'all a few macros that might be helpful. Like I said earlier, and like I've pretty much been saying throughout this entire video, is that you need to be rolling Life Bloom on one target at all times, especially if you have the tier 12 two-piece set bonus that gives you mana, which I have it right here, Your periodic healing from Life Bloom has a 40% chance to restore 1% of your base mana each time it heals a target. Therefore, having that on one target is definitely helpful for mana conservation. And also, when you pop Tree Form, you can roll Life Bloom on multiple targets. Therefore, you can actually roll Life Bloom on pretty much everyone, just blanket everyone with Life Bloom, and get mana back from blanketing everyone with Life Bloom. It's ridiculous, but it can work. Whenever someone takes a really substantial hit that's not a tank, you can throw a rejuve on them. It really helps. Kind of like a cushion, shieldish sort of thing, rejuve is, and gives the other healers that are your main cast healers, like shamans or holy paladins, or holy priests for that matter, gives them a chance to kind of get some heals out, because as druids, our role isn't really to take all the glory. However, we can, but that's really not our role as a healer. I do use Swiftmen on cooldown, but it will be situational for most fights, because it really just depends on where you're stacked and what group that is stacked that needs healing the most, which is where you're going to want to do that. Most of the time you're going to be able to cast it on yourself, so you can place it a little better. It can be a little fickle if you try to place it on someone else. Usually I just put it on myself or the tank. It's really it. In periods of heavy damage also, I throw out Wild Growth. Pretty much on cooldown for periods of heavy damage. That and Swiftmen, especially on the Ultraxian fight, both of those are constantly being used on cooldown. And Regrowth, really that's, it's situational. It will reapply your Life Bloom, as well as Nourish and Healing Touch, which for kind of clutch moments, which is one of the reasons why I have, and going back to it, why I have Nature's Bounty, is if you're really in a clutch situation where you need your Life Bloom on the tank constantly, and you have rejuve on 3 or more targets, really makes it easy. It's got the same cast time as Regrowth, but if you say already have Regrowth heal over time effect on the target, you don't want to waste that, throw a Nourish on them. It's really easy substitute, no brainer. And that's pretty much it for that. I do want to say Innervate is your best friend, and you should use Innervate as much as you can all the time. Pretty much you use it, you get down to about 80% mana, 75 maybe, depending on the fight. Use your Innervate so that when you get lower, you can use it again, because it'll be off cooldown. It's just got a 3-minute cooldown. Most fights these days last a good 10 to 12 minutes, depending on the encounter. Which that's pretty much it as far as that goes. Macros that I use, so I'll show you guys real quick. This macro is Bark Skin and Tranquility. The macro is number sign, show tooltip, Tranquility. Next line /cast Bark Skin and cast Tranquility. This is really useful because you can't really do anything while you're casting Tranquility, because it needs to go off the whole time. This is your big AoE, like, oh crap, we're gonna die kind of clutch heal. and you're gonna want it to go off, and you don't want to really waste the heals on yourself. So putting bark skin in with tranquility really helps to boost the healing going out to everyone else, and make sure you don't die in the process. The other macro that I have is Nature Swiftness and Healing Touch. And the reason I have that macro is really for a single target clutch oh crap heal, like the tank is going down and maybe the your tank healer's incapacitated for like a second or something, can't get that heal off, and you notice something's going wrong, you can throw that heal on them, and it's got a 50% increase from the Nature Swiftness, and Healing Touch is your most valuable heal. It heals for the most, I mean, for 24,000 to 26,000, and that's not counting crit. So, I mean, really, it's another no-brainer. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this guide. If you have any questions, you don't be afraid to leave them in the comments of this video, or send us a private message. Or you can send us an email at thegameroomchannel@gmail.com. Don't forget to visit our website where all of our videos are. That's thegameroomtv.com. Follow us on Twitter at thegameroomchan. You can also visit our fan page on Facebook. It's the Game Room. You can't miss it. You just type in that and it just comes right up. It's really easy. That's pretty much it. So this is Jared from the Game Room, and I'll see you guys next week.